So we each have a different reason for using social media, and how we conduct ourselves on it will be based on that. So we asked our panel, how important is maintaining an image for you, and how do you manage your online presence?
I think maintaining, not only an image, but a reputation is a huge thing. It's a very high importance. It's what builds your brand. It's what gives you credibility, in a sense. And it honestly takes a whole career to constantly keep building up of. But I mean, if you slip up or do something foolish or maybe insult the wrong person, it can literally take a second to bring down a career-long reputation. It's just one of those things that you always got to be careful and do what's right. But some people like having a reputation of being like a hard case or very loud and vocal, and that's fine. It's what suits each of our personalities. For me personally, I just try to put my own name on everything I do. I try to put my face in front of the camera on all my videos. I think that all comes into building up a reputation, a brand, a name, some sort of likeness, so people know who you are. I think it is a bit funny when younger artists and even students are using names like Dagger Storm or something, and they have their profile picture, for example, is just some anime character. Again, it's really hard, at least from my perspective, to take somebody seriously when they're presenting themselves like that.
I don't think I try to maintain any particular image. I just upload whatever I like and whenever I like. And I only post things that I really like so people can know what I'm genuinely passionate about. I also try to engage with people by replying to their comments and direct messages the best I can.
Before, I used to update quite frequently, but lately it's just like too tiring to do that, so I kinda just stopped overall. It's gone to the point where I feel like the need to constantly update or post something online has stopped being as important as before, because before you were trying to build up following and you were trying to connect with people also, but seeing now as I think relatively doing fine, the crutch that I used to have with social media is now gone. So I treat it as a place to post small stuff, sketches, WIPs. The polished stuff, I keep it to myself. I keep it over to my private blog that I mentioned earlier, so other than that, those are mostly the updates I post. If I feel like the finished artwork I did looks good enough, I'll post it up. But other than that, I'll just share it with my peers and ask for feedback from them directly rather than having everyone see it, because I'm just a bit more conscious about the work I do these days than last time.
Honestly, I never consider that there is an image to maintain. More so, anything that I post online that gathers an audience in terms of a following is something that's earned and doesn't really disappear. As such, the onus to post is really just to continue to grow that following, to grow the image that I have that seems to be unchanging. Really, the only thing that would change that is if I started to post artwork that was not good anymore or didn't fit what people enjoyed about my artwork to begin with. When it comes to engagement, really I just make an effort to engage with the people that reach out to me directly, but at no point am I trying to actively chat to people in comments and things, especially on something like ArtStation. Possibly a little bit more on Instagram, just because it seems like a slightly less formal place where you can have a bit of fun, joke around in the comments.
It seems like some people have taken some personal, taken a personal hit by Tyler's comment.
Hold on. My webcam is not showing.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Rebo. I don't think it's necessarily important to actually have your real face and your real name on your profile, especially if your purpose for social media is just a place for you to interact with different things and for people to want to focus on your artwork. But I think that definitely leads to an interesting observation, doesn't it, Ken? Like what purpose that each of the artists on the panel use social media for. I was just saying that I find it interesting that everyone on the panel and even in the chat seem to use social media for a different purpose. Some more for professional use and some just to post their artwork.
I noticed that Tyler speaks a lot about branding, and he likes putting his face up there with all of the posts that he makes because he thinks of that as his branding, and in the long run that helps him with his career, I guess. And that's an interesting thought. Maybe because it also helps build relatability with the audience that you have, right? But
I think so too.
I personally wouldn't do that because I'm just too shy.
Well, we're already kind of doing with the podcast where we're putting our face, in front of everyone.
Yeah, but with a photo or like with something that you do yourself, it just feels a bit narcissistic.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I mean,
Maybe it's just me.
no, I think it really just comes down to what purpose you want to use social media for. And I
Yeah.
can understand for Tyler, since he has his own school and YouTube channel and he's creating a
Yeah.
business out of freelancing, that I think it's important for him to really have people be aware of his name.
And you mentioned that you also use social media for professional use mostly, right?
Yeah.
Like what do you do? How do you maintain an image on social media?
For me, I would say my social media, I just try and post mostly about my art or what I'm doing related to it. But I very rarely post up very personal things such as family. And as I like to keep my personal life out of public eye, I suppose. Just because if I want to show people my personal life, then it would mean that I would trust them enough already to do so. And strangers or people I've never met really don't need to know that. And I think it can get overwhelming sometimes, or a bit strange sometimes when you haven't met someone for a while and then they come up to you and say, and you tell them something and they said, oh yeah, I know, I saw it on your Facebook. And it really kills conversation sometimes, and mystery.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're getting some really interesting answers in the chat too, because we've got a few people that are in the same camp as Dagger Storm that Tyler has mentioned. Yeah, so I'll read out some of the comments. Nomadic Coyote said, "Oh no, Tyler, why do you have to attack me so?" And Uribo says, "I just don't like my face, and Uri is a part of my real name too. But using real face or name, I don't feel like it matters much, especially since what you make and enjoy is what is important. Definitely, if your purpose is to just share your artwork with the world and you don't really care much for people recognizing you, for sure. I don't think there's a need for that." And Rika also said, "Does my profile pic count as anime?" I would say so, actually. You're not safe from Tyler's attack either, Rika. But yeah, there's lots of really funny comments in the chat. But what do you think, Ken? Do you think it's important for people to be recognized, or do you think there's something wrong with having drawn icons or nicknames?
I personally think that icons or profile pictures don't really matter that much unless you're posting something that's very graphic or not safe for work. Then that's kind of maybe don't do that. But with usernames, I don't really care as much. And sometimes I find usernames can speak a lot to a person's personality, which is quite interesting. And and I quite agree with what Rika said in the chat. She says, I think not sharing personal problems or dramas on social medias should be a common sense, unless you're a YouTuber and planning to monetize it. And I completely agree with that. And I don't post anything other than art unless it's something that I'm really passionate about. And likewise, like with you, I don't post my personal life because it's just a bit weird to let everyone know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I do sometimes do Insta stories, but that's very rarely.
Yeah.
And of course, keeping political views or negatives and rants out of my social
for sure.
media is
Most
very important
people
for
follow
me.
me for my art, not for my political.
Exactly.
I mean, not that I have anything valuable to say anyways. But I do, but I can see why, for example, people like Josh have said that it's tiring to keep up with with updating social media, even if it is just on art. And back then, he actually used to post almost every day. He did the 365-day sketch a day challenge, and that was crazy. And I can only imagine just how exhausting it would have been just to kind of see it through, especially when you have an audience kind of cheering you on and maybe even seeing the growth of your social media through doing that as well. Yeah.
And one more point that I'd like to make is, I think in the end, it's better to share positivity on the social media instead of
Mm-hmm.
hatred. And try to comment and share good artwork that you see online, because
Yeah.
who knows, it might help the other person find
Yeah.
a better job or connection.
Definitely, and it can make a whole difference. And personally speaking, I do something similar what Rika and Thomas do, where when someone comments on their artwork or messages them, I really do try and take my time to give a proper response, just to show that I really do appreciate people taking their time to say kind words about my art or even modeling my artwork. And I know that's, personally speaking, sometimes it can be a bit hurtful when I type up a long heartfelt comment on someone's piece and they just give a thumbs up. So I guess in knowing, on being the receiving end, I try to give a proper response to someone, just to at least show that it's more than me giving an automated response, I suppose.
And I also want to point out what TCK, one of the points that TCK made, is that your following or your followers is earned. It won't disappear overnight just because you post something that's different. It will always grow. When he said that, I think it's like music, where you follow a band that you like and they will evolve over time, but you still kind of listen to them because it's not that because their style changes, you just immediately hate them. But it just takes some time to get used to them, to warm up to their new style, something like that. I mean, there's always the possibility that you don't like, completely dislike their new style.
Yeah.
And which is fine. You'll just find new followers that like both your old style. That likes both your old style and that new style. Yeah.
For sure. And I think there's some great comments here as well. And Jen Loop has said, I'd say it's personal preference. Some people enjoy sharing and letting people into their lives a lot. Other people want to keep their private lives private. Gotta do what you gotta do. I completely agree with that. And Nomadic Coyote says, I think it is completely valid to choose not to involve politics, but many artists do, and art often is inherently political, so for many artists it is natural. Example, Carla Ortiz is very vocal and it doesn't disturb me at all. So either way, it works if it works for you. Yes, that's actually a very good point, because art is used to communicate a certain message and it can very well be political. But I suppose that when it comes to the concept art industry, it inherently isn't political for most games. So I think that's why I come at the topic with a certain angle.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's more political on Twitter or for illustrators, because you mentioned about the concept art industry being a bit less political, because maybe with concept art or design, it's mostly about the design and not about the message of the image.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this is great. Like, I'm definitely being exposed to new possibilities as well. Like, and I would say if I had to adjust my view a bit, it would be more that unless that person stops posting art and all that they do is post political stuff, then that's when I'm gonna be like, okay, enough of you, unfollow, which I've done for some people already. I can filter out your political stuff if I don't like it or don't agree with it, but at least post some art, okay? And just to read out a few more comments and then we can move on to the final question. Rika says, it does feel a little bit awkward sometimes when you reply the same thank you to many comments. It feels like my thank you be looking like thank you bot spam. That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
I can relate.
Yeah, and Jen Loop says, I can so relate to that. And yeah, Nomadic Coyote says, yes, it is. And Carta also says, my selfies are art pieces. Well, you should post up more art pieces sometime, man. I could use a little bit more material myself. But it's true. I suppose it's because I haven't received maybe a huge enough following to realize that I can't spend the whole day writing a super custom message for everyone. So I might end up just clicking like. I guess it depends. Who knows? But yeah, that was a great discussion, guys. And we will wrap this up with the final question.